Hello movie buffs, my name is Steve, aka NJMovieFreak, and today we're going to switch gears a little bit. October just ended and Halloween is behind us, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the horror is over. I decided to kick off my first horror review with one of my favorite 1970s cult classics, Phantasm. Phantasm is a 1979 horror film directed, shot, and edited by Don Cascarelli. It introduces the Tall Man, a malevolent undertaker who takes the dead and turns them into dwarf goblin slaves. Phantasm's main cast includes A. Michael Baldwin, Reggie Bannister, Bill Thornberry, and Angus Scrimm as the Tall Man. This film spawned 4 sequels: Phantasm 2, Phantasm 3 Lord of the Dead, Phantasm 4 Oblivion, and Phantasm 5 Ravager. All well-made movies in their own right, and each one continues where the last one left off, but today we're just going to talk about the 1979 version. Phantasm was released into theaters on March 28, 1979, 41 years ago, so if you haven't seen it yet, spoilers! The film begins at Morningside Cemetery, where during sexual relations, a character named Tommy is stabbed by the lady in lavender. At the funeral, Tommy's friends Jody and Reggie believe he committed suicide. Jody's little brother Mike secretly observes the funeral from a distance and witnesses the Morningside mortician, known as the Tall Man, place Tommy's 500-pound casket with no effort back into the hearse. Later that night, Jody is seduced by the same lady in lavender and taken to the cemetery. However, the two are interrupted by Mike, who has been following Jody. Mike tries to tell Jody about a hooded figure that has been following him, but Jody dismisses the story. Mike decides to investigate further by going to the mausoleum. He avoids a deadly silver flying sphere and runs into a caretaker who tries to hold him, but escapes just after the spear impales himself on the caretaker's skull and drills into his brain. Mike then sees the Tall Man, flees, and tells his brother Jody. Jody goes to the mausoleum alone to investigate and is attacked by a hooded goblin. He escapes, is picked up by Mike, and then chased by a driverless hearse. They run the hearse off the road, only to discover that it was driven by one of the hooded figures, Jody's reanimated shrunken friend Tommy. Reggie, Jody, and Mike eventually join forces and devise a plan to kill the Tall Man and his little goblins. We find out, however, that Jody actually died in the car crash, and Mike has been having nightmares about the Tall Man, using him as a coping mechanism to deal with his brother's death. Or so we think. Phantasm deals with the subject of death and what lies ahead in the next life or dimension. Death is a huge fear for most people, and this film perfectly depicts what a lot of people think about on a daily basis. Is there life after death? Is there a hell? Is there a heaven? Is our life really what we see it as? Or is the Tall Man a subconscious manifestation trying to tell you that what you see is nothing but an illusion? In Ghostbusters 2, Vigo's last words were, "Death is but a doorway, time is but a window. I'll be back." Understandably, Vigo was a fictional character thought up by Dan Aykroyd and Hal Ramis, but many people from history, such as the ancient pharaohs, believed in life after death. Scientists are not sure where nightmares come from, and psychologists have tried to explore this in detail, such as placing the reason on personal guilt, irrational fears, and even the thought of premonitions. In this film, the 3 main characters, Michael, Jody, and Reggie, are all fighting the Tall Man from another dimension. There's no police, firefighters, military, no authority figures whatsoever. They are alone, and it feels like that when you're fighting an unstoppable force.
What we gotta do is we gotta snag that tall dude and stomp the out of him, and we'll find out what the hell is going on up there. Yeah, we'll lay that sucker out flat and drive a stake right through his heart.
Are they really fighting this in this dimension, or is this one giant nightmare / illusion? What really piqued my interest about this movie is that on the commentary track, the director mentions how sleep and death are related. I dug a little deeper online and found out that people subconsciously associate sleep with death because a lot of people that fear death are more likely to wake people up from a quick nap because the person sleeping looks lifeless, and that causes a biological response in the other person to wake them. Yes, people could fall asleep for many reasons, such as listening to a boring lecture in class, or by eating too much and falling into a food coma. But for others, the roots are much deeper. For me, Phantasm represents the inevitable, but also about the possibilities that exist in the next dimension.
You got some kind of an overactive imagination or something, man?
No, Jody, I don't. Now for some behind-the-scenes facts. Number 1. The exterior building for the mausoleum was actually also used in the film A View to a Kill with Roger Moore. Number 2. Angus Scrimm, who portrayed the tall man, was actually 6'4" in real life, but the costume designer had to add lifts to his shoes to make him look over 7 feet. And they also had a tailor on set to make his suits several sizes smaller. Number 3. Director Don Coscarelli hired children to play the dwarf slaves because it was the exact height that he was looking for the characters. Number 4. The inspiration for Phantasm came from Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. The director wanted to write and direct a movie based on this novel. However, Disney already got the rights to it and released their own adaptation in 1983. Number 5. Motorhead's song Ace of Spades was written after the band saw the movie. The lead singer Lenny thought that Michael Baldwin's hair looked like the Ace of Spades. Number 6. Don Coscarelli titled the film Phantasm because he was a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe, and Edgar Allan Poe would often use this word in his writings. According to Webster's dictionary, the word phantasm means a product of fantasy, illusion, a ghost, a figment of the imagination. In a way, that's what the tall man represents. Number 7. In the first 5 minutes of the film, we see the character Michael pass by a large headstone in the cemetery. It reads, "Our darling mother, Cecilia Weiss." Eric Weiss was the name of her son, but you may only know him by his stage name, Harry Houdini. And what was the most dangerous illusion Houdini ever attempted? Being buried alive. Number 8. Phantasm almost received an X rating, but not because of the blood, sex, violence, and gore. It was simply the visual of the caretaker emptying his bowels after being killed by the flying spear. Number 9. The film was originally over 3 hours long, but had to be cut, well, for obvious reasons. However, some of the footage that ended up on the cutting room floor was featured in Phantasm 4, where the characters go back in time and learn of the tall man's origins. Number 10. Phantasm was originally released by Embassy Pictures, but after Universal saw its success, decided to take over in 1988 for Phantasm 2 and recast the character of Michael with another person. Initially, Michael Baldwin was mad, but he had the last laugh because he came back in Phantasm 3, Phantasm 4, and Phantasm 5. Now, Phantasm can be bought in a few different formats, but today I'm specifically going to be talking about the Well Go USA Entertainment release of Phantasm on Blu-ray. It's a Blu-ray/DVD combo pack, and this is Phantasm Remastered. In my opinion, this is the best that Phantasm has ever been seen and heard. It also includes commentary by the director with 3 of the 4 main cast members, interviews from 1979, deleted scenes, a 5.1 surround sound mix, optional mono mix, and trailers. If you're a fan of Phantasm and you only have the DVD and are going to upgrade to Blu-ray, I recommend highly that you get the Well Go USA Entertainment release of Phantasm Remastered. What's also really cool is that there's a 5-disc collection as well for Phantasm. It includes Phantasm Remastered as the first disc, and it has the same features as the Blu-ray, as well as parts 2, 3, 4, and 5 with all special features. So if you're a fan of the series and you don't have all of them yet, pick up this box set. This is a must for any Phantasm fan. You will not regret it. I would like to give a big shout out to Tony DiLorenzo at Antiques and Collectibles store at the Livingston Mall, who sold me this awesome book called Phantasm Exhumed. It's a behind the scenes book that goes into all 5 films in the franchise of Phantasm. I was not expecting this because I went into the store to sell back some pop figures, Blu-rays, and DVDs. So I met him in one of the aisles and we just started talking about horror films, and I mentioned how Phantasm is going to be my next review. So he raced down one of the aisles to his case that he manages and he pulled out this book, and I was dumbfounded because I didn't know that there was a behind the scenes book on all 5 films. I'd never heard of it before, so when he showed me this I was like, yes, take my money, like Fry would say in Futurama. So thank you, Tony, for showing me this, and I hope in the future we get to talk more about horror films and maybe do a podcast together. If anyone's ever in the Livingston Mall, please stop by Antiques and Collectibles on their first floor. It's sort of like going to a convention with all the different vendors and stuff, but with a little nostalgic twist. I met Angus Scrimm some time ago at one of the horror conventions. I can't find the picture I have with him, but what I do remember, and I'll never forget, is before I left the table, I said, "Angus, would you mind giving me the tall man stare?" And he said, "Okay." And he gave me this look. Still sends chills up and down my spine. I would give Phantasm 4 out of 5 stars. The film was filled with suspense, horror, sex, flying spears, and of course, the tall man. Phantasm is a movie way ahead of its time in terms of jump scares and interdimensional travel. It teaches people that even though curiosity killed the cat, satisfaction doesn't always bring it back. If you see something suspicious, especially when one man alone can pick up a 500-pound casket without even breaking a sweat, it's probably best to leave it alone. If you like this video, please click on the subscribe button below, give it a like, give it a share. Make sure to turn on that notification bell to stay up to date with all new news, videos, podcasts, etc. related to NJMovieFreak. I really appreciate everyone for watching this video, and if you have any comments, any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you soon.